In the profession of education, it is by all means vital and necessary to know the different stages that your students will go through. In this chapter, I will be covering transitions, transition planning, and life skills education. Making transitions is oftentimes an important and inevitable part of the life of all human beings. In this chapter, transition means to simply move from one state to the next. Whether an individual has special needs or not, they will be going through a transitioning process. Although transitioning may be a natural process for many, persons with special needs require extra measures of preparation. The chapter Transition, Transition Planning, and Life Skills Education from the book Strategies for Teaching Learners with Special Needs by Paula Wade, Patton, and Sterner discusses these extra measures which count as absolutely necessary. School-related transitions. There are two types of transitions that a person can possibly go through throughout their lifetime. The first being vertical transitions. As mentioned before, most people go through transitions. Considering this, some can be predictable or normative. Others may say developmental, age-based, and chronological. Although these transitions can be recognized from a variety of terms, the general name for them is vertical transition. For the most part, the most important of these transitions occur throughout the school year. Two of the greater milestones, for example, are entry into school and elementary to secondary school. It is important to ensure that the transition into the school goes as smoothly as possible. Children with special needs, if diagnosed before the age of 2 that is, should have an individualized family service plan, which includes the transition planning necessary to enter the school setting. In this way, you ensure that students are comfortable in the classroom setting and therefore their performance in the classroom is successful. Those who have slipped through the cracks and are diagnosed while having been into the school system already go through a process of comprehensive planning, thoughtful action, and coordination to increase their chances of success while they meet the requirements for inclusion. There are some skills that should be considered when determining if a child will successfully transition into the school setting. These skills are separated into four domains. The first being social behaviors and classroom conduct. This includes expressing emotions and affections appropriately, interacting and defending self without aggression, sitting appropriately, and playing independently. The second is communication behaviors. This includes following group instructions, answering questions, relating ideas and experiences, and communicating own needs and wants. The third category is task-related behaviors. This includes staying in own space, making choices, seeking attention appropriately, and attending to teacher in large groups. The last and final category is self-help behaviors. This includes avoiding dangers and responding to warning words, caring for own toileting needs, feeding self independently, and recognizing when a problem exists. The best results when it comes to transitioning into the school, it is recommended that a parent transition plan be developed. You should take note that although this is not mandatory, it can be very beneficial for the child in the sense that it increases the likeliness that goals will be met. The parent transition plan may include activities to be carried out, specific responsibilities, and a timeline to get things done. The next major transition that a child will go through is the transition from elementary to secondary education. Transitioning to secondary school can be a difficult and confusing experience for a child, and even worse for one with special needs. Because of this, systemic planning should take place for a smooth transition. A transitioning curriculum should then be put in place at the last 2 years of the elementary school that will prepare the child for the major changes that secondary school has to offer. These changes can include, but are not limited to, larger student populations, more teachers, self-regulated behavior, and class scheduling. The transition curriculum should include skills such as reading for the purpose of content comprehension, text analysis, listening, self-management, test taking, and interactive learning. The key ingredients to helping children with special needs make this transition are orienting them to structural and organizational changes, developing useful academic support, and social and emotional readiness. The second form of transitions that an individual may or may not go through are horizontal transitions. Horizontal transitions may come off as unexpected. Unlike vertical transitions, they are unpredictable. For example, a child who becomes confined to a wheelchair because of an accident or illness will have to encounter a horizontal transition. While some persons may experience these kinds of transitions, others will not. Two types of horizontal transitions are moving from special programs to inclusive ones, or moving from an outside facility into a public facility. There are a few instruments that can be used when trying to prepare a child for the general education classroom. The first being the classroom inventory checklist. The classroom inventory checklist was constructed for the purpose of ensuring that students are ready for introduction into an inclusive classroom. It is used to examine dimensions of the receiving classroom, which in turn creates conditions that are similar to those present in a general education classroom. The true purpose of this instrument is to make children feel that they are part of a general education classroom before they are actually in it. The second of the instruments is the classroom survival skills inventory. This instrument focuses on the demands of general education classrooms. It is split up into four domains inclusive of self-related skills, task-related skills, interpersonal skills, and environmental awareness. It is used for both elementary school and secondary school. The third instrument I will discuss is the Classroom Variables Analysis Form. This instrument is specifically important for the examining of secondary classrooms. This instrument must require individual adaptations but serves as one of the best instruments for transitioning into an inclusive classroom. There are 6 areas of focus in this form, which include instructional materials and support personnel, presentation of subject matter, learner response variables, student evaluation, classroom management, social interactions, and physical design. Although these instruments collectively make the task of transition and planning easier, it is important to note that we will never be able to prepare students completely for moving into an inclusive setting. As mentioned before, movement from non-school facilities to the public school serves as a horizontal transition. Non-school facilities refer to private schools, correctional facilities, rehabilitation facilities, and residential treatment facilities. Transitioning for persons from rehabilitation start with preparing school staff, parents, classmates, and of course, the child making the transition. When accommodating these persons, ask the following questions. What is the best setting to provide instruction? How structured does the environment need to be? How much organization needs to be added to the program? What instructional devices must be available upon return? Does the child need a wheelchair? Does the child need a hearing aid? Does the child need an automatic page turner? Or does the child need some computer software? Ask yourself these questions. Although transitioning from school to post-school is a critical transition, it is so important that it deserves special recognition. The most important goal for accommodating individuals with special needs is to transform them into productive, goal-oriented, and independent members of society, which makes transitioning from school to post-school very important. A very simple layout of the adulthood transition process is given in the book Strategies for Teaching Learners with Special Needs. The diagram illustrates that school-based activities, family-centered activities, self-initiated activities, adult services activities all work together and contribute to the knowledge, skills, support, and service needs to meet the demands of adulthood. This in turn gives the individual personal fulfillment in themselves. There are three objectives when implementing the transitioning process for adolescents with special needs. These are arrange for opportunities and services that will support quality adult living, prevent the interruption of needed services, maximize independence, community participation, and productivity of adolescents on their way to adulthood. It is the responsibility of the school, the home, the individual, and to a certain extent, adult agencies or settings who will live up to meeting these objectives. There are a few things about transition planning that make it so important in the life of a special needs individual. Without effective transition planning, problems start to arise. These problems are interruption of needed services, termination of needed services through oversight or lack of information, inadequate preparation of the student in the sending environment, and inadequate preparation of the receiving environment. There are a number of rules that should be followed when undergoing transition planning. For ultimate success, transition planning should start early. The idea requires this process to start at middle school level. Be comprehensive, include student participation, involve family. This is a crucial part. Be sensitive to diversity and benefit all students. The saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. This is why community linkages are so important in the transitioning process of an individual. Transition planning requires all hands on deck, and members of the community work together in developing transitional networks. These include, but are not limited to, trade and technical schools, colleges and universities, including community colleges, nonprofit organizations, mental health centers, and government agencies. I have mentioned that the goal for transitioning to adulthood is to make individuals productive members of society. This is where life skills education comes into play. When teaching life skills education, we are teaching children or individuals to meet the demands of adulthood. To prepare individuals with special needs for adulthood, It is important to note what you are preparing them for. With that being said, it is therefore vital to note the six adult domains, which are 1. Employment and education, including general job skills, general education training, employment setting, and career refinement and reevaluation. Number 2, home and family, including financial management, family life, and child rearing. Number 3, leisure pursuits, including indoor activities, outdoor activities, travel, and entertainment. Number 4, community involvement, which includes citizenship, community awareness, and services and resources. Number 4, physical and emotional health, and hence the name, it includes physical and emotional health. Number 6, lastly, personal responsibility and relationships, which includes personal confidence, goal setting, self improvement, and relationships. Another part of life skills education is integration. When accommodating special learners, the role of the teacher still has to remain the same. Thus, teachers must learn to integrate real life content to what they teach. This can be done in two ways. The first being augmentation. Teachers may expand their content by including more meaning and real life concepts. This means that teachers can dedicate specific time to provide meaningful teaching, like interacting with others or carrying out important errands. Example, bank runs. The second integration skill is infusion. This technique is just what the name says, infusing existing content with real life concepts, much like infusing season into meat. This can be done without thought or plan by implanting the hidden curriculum of morals, teaching students what is right from wrong, teaching students the right things to do, and basic community skills. Another part of life skills education is enforcing career development. This comes in many aspects what I will be discussing. The first being highlighting definitional perspectives. This means making note that career is not solely occupational, but it can also mean having to do with society rules. The stages of career development come as career awareness, career orientation, career exploration, and career preparation, meaning vocational skills. Developing positive work attitude comes next. This means giving students responsibility in order to improve their attitudes towards working and allowing students to understand the importance of various jobs. Vocational training, like mentioned before, is exposing students to skills and providing them with experience as it relates to the working world. This includes job training, it includes experience in work areas as in field trips, and it also includes informing students of the importance of specific jobs. Having special needs can be a limiting factor in the lives of many children. However, it should not mean that they are deprived. As they are still human, they will all need to make the necessary transitions like any other individual. With the existence of transitions should come transition planning that is very vital as it relates to the future of the child. This means that it should never be taken lightly. It is then necessary to look beyond the disabilities and focus on the capabilities of each and every child. This is the end of Chapter 16 of Strategies for Teaching Learners with Special Needs, Transitions, Transition Planning, and Life Skills Education.